This is Sniper signing in to Command & Conquer Red Alert 3 on that Fire Island for the win number 45 Grand Finals. Spawning on the bottom left side as the Soviets, Cyan Soviets. This is Dimon and his opponent. Spawning as the Yellow Empire player. This is Das.Duelon. These two players, both tremendously powerful juggernauts for their respective factions. Dimon's got micromanagement down to the T. And Das.Duelon, he can be everywhere at once with the versatility of the Empire. This is going to be a match for the ages. Thus, that Warbear is going to get there in time. It's going to arrive in time to camp this dojo and stop any kind of engineer. Actually, can he? No, I don't think he. I think that's too close. And I don't think that's a. I think that's too close. Wow. Actually, no. That dojo is going to get that engineer off just fine. Actually, both dojos. Dimon not going to get any dojo. Getting that Crusher Crane online. Going for a fast MCV move. Fast MCV move. Getting the Super Reactor up and running. We'll have to see what Dimon's planning with this. With that Crusher Crane back home, that gives him a lot of options here. Could allow him to get a War Factory, get an airfield even back home. Using that Flak Trooper, that's very good use of that Flak Trooper. Oh, nice turn. That is going to be one dead Flak Trooper. That Imperial Warrior is not going to be able, or that MCV rather, will not be able to save that Imperial Warrior. And now the Burst Drone gonna slow down the MCV, which I've asked this question before. I'll ask it again. I may put this up on the forums. Who knows? How on earth can this tiny little drone slow down a rolling 50-ton hunk of crushing metal by like 50, 60, whatever the coefficient is for the slow %? How is this tiny little drone able to do it for such a big target mass? I don't quite follow how the physics of that would work, but this is Red Alert 3, so physics isn't exactly the most important thing in the world, but maintaining control of both of those oil derricks is going to be very important indeed. But this MCV going for the water deploy, I guess that does make a bit of sense considering the Empire's, I guess, early game weakness to water. Typically you don't see Imperial players getting in Imperial docks, but they can get the Tsunami tanks or Striker VXs with the T2 Mecha Bay, which he does have now. Which I'm not sure if Dimon's expecting that T2 Mecha Bay to be there. Deploying it, sure, but Flat Cannon. I mean, the MCV was going to take a lot of damage. If there was another chopper, it might actually die before. I think that actually might be a little too far away. Actually, yeah, no. Well, yeah, the chopper could have just moved around here to this side and begun attacking over there. One MiG does catch that Jet Tengu in the skies, taking it down. What kind of plan are we looking at here? Both dojos, or excuse me, both derricks reclaimed by Dimon. Dimon getting that airfield online. What are his plans? What are his plans? What are his plans here? Is he just trying to occupy his opponent? Is he just trying to occupy Das.Duelon over here, saying, "Hey, here's my MCV. Look at my MCV, guys." Well, maybe he does something with his Air Force, with his MiGs, or with his. Oh, that's not a fight the MiGs are gonna win. I don't think. I do not think the MiGs are gonna win that fight. Oh, well, 1-to-1. 1-on-1, yeah, they will, but that extra Tengu, those extra Tengus on the ground will make the difference. This MCV, what's Dimon's plan here with this MCV? He's probably just gonna suicide and get the MCV, which, yeah, he will. He'll pay for it, but he's gonna get it. Rushes in, gets one MiG, pays for it again with the Tengu. Tank Busters, though, moving out, destroying one oil derrick. Will they go for another? No. These twin blades are going to be right on top of them, and they're going to prevent any other type of move out against the other oil derrick. What kind of an answer? I mean, that's scratching MCV. He has a Crusher Crane, sure, but what's Dimon's plan here? I guess he could just amass. Well, with the MiGs, he does have air control right now. And that is an MCV cell. Oh, that MCV cell. That is quite telling. And now there's a flat cannon. If aircraft prove to be too great in numbers, they can just retreat out to that flat cannon, and that could suddenly make quite a bit of difference. Yeah, 5 Tengus against 4 MiGs. That's not a winnable fight. One of them gets sniped right away. Well, actually, perhaps one-on-one. Who's gonna win? Oh no, 2-on-1. That MiG's gonna need to turn tail and get on out of there. MiGs are faster. Jet Tengus are sadly the slowest anti-air unit in the game. One tank buster, some way somehow gets back here. Twin Blades are already in position to respond, but somehow the one tank buster gets back here. Engineer was actually successful in recapping that old derrick for Das.Duelon, but now these two players, they're scrapping it out. One game, only one game in, and they're already getting very, very scrappy with what they do. Now, Dimon still has a build queue, but I don't think he's very intent on using it. I think he is very happy with his air, and he's just going to run the air game. It has to be either Striker VXs or Jet Tengus. That has to be the answer here for Das.Duelon. And I think Dimon's he's just in too good of a position. Now, yeah, there it is. He's in too good of a position. Dimon takes the win, putting himself on the board over Das.Duelon. Well played by both of those players, but that was just, I think it was a little bit too much of the Tengu count that got just gradually scraped off over the course of that game. Tengu count was scraped off. Chopper VXs were scraped off. I mean, if you think about it, that MCV, it makes sense what Dimon was doing because he was using the MCV as a giant hunk of bait. He already had the Crusher Crane back home, so he didn't need his MCV. He didn't even really need the Crusher Crane, but it was just a safety mechanism. He never intended, once he got his airfield up, he never intended to use his build queue again. He never wanted to use his build queue again. He didn't plan on ever using it again. So the MCV serving no purpose whatsoever inside of his own base. He's just kind of sitting there like, okay, let's go. Let's just kind of go out onto the map and let's just see what happens. Well, flat cannon gets thrown down, and that scratch 2 choppers, scratch a Tengu, which, if those units had been present in some of those final fights, that would have made a really big difference. Even having just that one extra Tengu, every single, if I recall correctly, every single engagement between the MiGs and the Tengus in that game came down to just one more Tengu. If one more Tengu had been in the air, then Dimon would have lost the air fight. And if Dimon ever loses the air fight, it's like you're shooting crap at a crap table. If you ever lose, you lose big, right? If you lose the air fight, if you lose all of your MiGs, suddenly, and if there are still like 3 Tengus left, they can just chase down your Twin Blades, and suddenly, that's rip your army, and suddenly now you're open to a counterattack. So it's that sort of thing. Dimon, he was playing very aggressive, very on the edge. He was walking a tightrope, a very thin tightrope with that army, but he made it work. He made it work indeed. And with using a creative tactic with the distractionary MCV, able just to shave off just enough to make that play happen. Eco virtually negligible. It was so close together. I mean, within 800, about 800 of each other. Very, very good. Are very solid eco for both players there. But I mean, just hardcore air game. And the problem with the hardcore air game for the Empire is that in a straight up air fight, if they don't have point defense drones, they lose. That's plain and simple. They just kind of lose. But that is the end of game number 1. So without any further delay, let's jump into game number 2. Spawning on Cabana Republic on the right side is the Cyan Soviets. This is Dimon. Currently up 1-0 in this series. His opponent spawning on the left side is the Blue Empire player. This is Das.Duelon. Das.Duelon cranking out those dojo cores. Triple dojo. Will it be a quad? Yes, it will. Quad dojo. So ideally, one dojo deploy here, one dojo deploy here, possibly a dojo over here. You could throw a dojo up here if you really wanted. That would be an extremely weird spot to put it, but you technically could. But generally, you deploy a dojo out to the derricks. Typically one per derrick if you're looking to try and snatch it away from your opponent. And then you can send the 4th one over towards the center of the map. See if you want to maybe use it for Crush Core, get lucky catching a Scout, which he almost did. But Dimon, paying a little too much attention for that, is not going to fall for it. Conscripts, here they come. Field promotion, here I come. They all want that sweet, sweet field promotion. And so they are charging valiantly onto the field, which conscripts, they fare well against Imperial Warriors in cities like this. If the Imperial Warriors tried garrisoning this, then just Molotov cocktails chases them out. If the conscripts garrison, then they have to bonsai, and the Imperial Warriors have to bonsai charge in, which that does not really work out too well either. Dojo does get taken out, presumably by a flak trooper. If I had to guess, that would be by a flak trooper. Probably went in for the mag mine and just kind of suicide mined in there at the start, if I had to take a guess at it. Conscripts, kind of meager on the DPS side of things, but they're not exactly known for their DPS. Where's his MCV? Hello. Naval Yard and some bullfrogs. MCV for Dimon moving out for that forward expansion, looking to take a position of aggression, which that conscript needed to pay attention. Getting shot was not enough, and Stingray is already out, putting some pressure on the main. However, there are some tank busters already present. They're already ready to defend. However, with these, still gets the full explosion off, even though it's technically fully sold off by then. These Stingrays, they could poke in, zap a few of the tank busters and then pull back. I mean, of course, the Stingrays would take some damage. They take pretty significant amounts of damage, actually, if that did happen. Third Ref and Imperial Docks going up simultaneously for Das.Duelon. However, that's an engineer inside of a bullfrog. He's going to try and force the sell-off. If he gets out in the water, which he does, he's going to force the sell-off. He's going to force the sell-off. That is very depressing. I wonder if you don't sell it in time. Well, no, if you don't sell it in time, I guess the engineer can't go back. He can't still cap it, even though the animation's not done. Even like say, so if the animation of the cell is not completed, a structure can still be destroyed, and it can still get like the debris of the structure falling in the area around it. And for a moment, I wondered if the same concept would apply to capturing a selling off structure, or capturing a sold off structure. But I believe I've seen that before, and that does not quite work that way or function that way. Another engineer gonna go see about getting this oil derrick. If I had to take a guess, is the engineer still inside of this bullfrog? Perhaps. We'll have to see. Warbear taken out. Imperial Docks redeployed. Two Stingrays, they're just chilling. Stingrays just kind of chilling out, doing their thing. Airfield, very traditional Dimon fashion, getting that airfield up on Cabana Republic. Cabana Republic is just, it's kind of like a map favorite for, rip. Is he gonna get in? Oh, I got in. Das.Duelon, he didn't switch it in time. That is because Warbear is sitting on top of the tank busters, and now the Stingrays, the Tesla boats on the Stingrays and moving onto the land. That is not good at all for Das.Duelon. Realizing that the Yari mini subs are on their way. The Warbears he's trying. Das.Duelon is trying his hardest to get rid of those Warbears. As long as those Warbears are there, the Stingrays, they kind of can't move in. They kind of can't. Oh, well, the tank busters, excuse me. But now there's just so many of them now. They have overwhelming numbers. They have critical firepower, critical mass, and down goes one. Yari mini subs will likely catch the other. Tesla Surge almost dodged fully by all of these guys. Stingrays, their ability, it's a very powerful ability to have. That Tesla Surge, it can clear out terror drones. It can do significant amounts of damage to naval units around them. And in case you didn't know this, it can also severely frame rate your PC if you activate enough of them en masse. So, just word to the wise, if you have a ball of Stingrays, in excess of like 10, 12, 15 Stingrays, do not just slap the F key on all of them. It makes a very big, very pretty electrical surge, but your computer will not like you for it. Just word to the wise. Crusher Crane going back online as well. Anti-air plus the Twin Frog combo coming out. Twin Frogs are taking to the map, scouting for that third ref or possible fourth ref, and not gonna find anything. These Jet Tengus are just really wasting their time right about now. Twin Blaze moving in, taking advantage since he knew where those Jet Tengus were. Taking full advantage, moving in, sniping a Dojo Core, sniping a Collector. Yari mini subs Fortified Fleet with Fortified Fleet moving in. However, that Tesla Coil will deny access pretty much entirely to that naval expansion. Bullfrogs gonna be tearing them out of the sky. Tearing those Tengus right on out of the sky. Needs to be careful about these Tank Busters. Tank Busters will absolutely eviscerate a Bullfrog. Mining operations, not good. All 3 refineries are about to be negated. Not rebuilding. Sitting on no cash. I'm pretty sure he's stalled on cash. He's likely just trying to micro his way into this fight. Just trying to kill the Tesla Coil, trying to kill something. Which, that he does. Super Ace, he does clean that up. He cleans up parts of that expansion, but you have to wonder, you know, at what price, at what cost. Yes, 1 Striker VX does come out, but the rockets from the Twin Blades, just too much. 1 more, I believe that is going to be the extent of his additional funding. Oh no, he does have a little bit more since he just sold off the docks. But this is just a slow, painful death at this point. Das.Duelon has, for all intents and purposes, been defeated. Twin Blaze just poking in and out. Dimon just going to slowly pick his opponent apart. Probably getting close to the low power margin. Might just, if he's not there, he's just not there, but that's it. Das.Duelon, realizing he's been defeated, throws in the towel, taps out. GG to both of those players. Dimon, he's on it. He's on his game right now. He's on his game. It's after Deep Dark Fantasy. Spoiler alert, in case you haven't watched the semifinals, which if you haven't, I recommend you do. Pause this video and go check it out. After Deep Dark Fantasy taking a game off of Dimon, he stepped into his macro strat shoes and he's like, all right, let's do this. And so far, Das.Duelon he's not quite being able to keep up. He's struggling a little bit, but Dimon, he can just be everywhere. If there's anything Dimon is exceptionally good at, it is picking his opponent apart. I mean, look at this, 32,000 over 24,000. That's what, about 8,000 income. Well, okay, okay. When I first read that, it looked a little bit bigger than it actually was. About 8,000, but still 8,000. That's a number of Bullfrogs. That's a number of Twin Blades extra that Das.Duelon didn't get to produce things like Tengus or Strikers or really having. I think he may have been expecting the MiGs, which is why he went so heavy on the Tengus. But since he didn't go MiGs and he just had a pack of Bullfrogs. Bullfrogs, a Twin Frog combo is pretty much the ideal counter to Tank Buster Tengu, right? That's more or less the ideal counter because Twin Blades and Bullfrogs can both outmaneuver the Tank Busters, and then if the Tengus try and pursue and try and snipe off or shave off 1 or 2 of the Twin Blades, then the Bullfrogs, all they have to do is just turn around and just open fire and just tear. And the retribution is swift and it is severe. So Das.Duelon, can he find his groove? Well, he's gonna need to find something, and we'll have to find out as we jump into game number 3. Spawning on the map, Battle Base Beta. In the upper right hand corner as the Cyan Soviets, this is Dimon. And his opponent as the yellow Empire player, this is Das.Duelon. Battle Base Beta, very common. You're gonna see some infantry taken off towards here, the central garrisons. The central garrisons provide a really good bit of map control, especially early on. Warbear already taking to the scene, already going to make sure that no possible infantry play is able to work out from Das.Duelon, and a little bit of a refinery bug out there, so just a little bit delayed on the deploy, but I think it should be pretty negligible. I mean, both of his refineries will be done probably by the time a single refinery from Dimon gets finished, so that's all good. A wave of conscripts. The wave of conscripts are on the way. Warbear will get into the base and will get a scout off. Engineer sprinting his merry heart out to the derrick. Should just barely have enough sprint in him to make it. There we go. I think his sprint would have run out had he kept running for another second or two. Flak Trooper thrown in there just in case there's a burst drone that comes flying around, which indeed there is. A burst drone coming out from Das.Duelon, wanting to get a little bit of that return scout off, but thanks to this Flak Trooper, which normally players don't send a Flak Trooper there, that will, at the very least, slow it down. Won't kill the burst drones. Good on Das.Duelon. Very good on him for paying attention, keeping that scout alive. And sometimes in high-level games, the scouting makes a really, really important difference. Notices a really forward deployment on the War Factory. Typically, you see War Factories being deployed somewhere back here, closer to the main base itself. That's pretty far forward. I mean, could be, given the nature of his conscript, how many conscripts he has, I would not be shocked at all if we saw some early pressures, like some terror drone sickles. Gonna be rolling on out. Yes, here come the sickles. Is there an answer? There's a defender core. There's a defender core. He's going to try and use that to slow them down. If this defender core finishes, then that is absolutely going to be enough. If that defender core finishes, defender cores, the things about them, they absolutely eviscerate infantry. All right, these defender turrets, or defender VX turrets, and the Soviet sentry guns, they rip infantry apart. No question about it. Allied multi-gunner turrets, sort of. I mean, if they're augmented with a peacekeeper, sure, they rip them up as well, but not quite as much as the sentry gun or defender VX. Burst drone just being a little annoying, but that defender core is going to be circumvented. That's a lot of conscripts. It's one supporting sickle and one supporting terror drone, but this is predominantly an infantry attack. Right now, there's no answer. There is no answer at this point to that terror drone sickle. For the here and now, there is no answer, and it's that terror drone already pre-firing the ground with that electro claws, or the electrostasis claws. That's going to be just ever so annoying. That burst drone does take out one sickle, but that other sickle is going to be running rampant, and that terror drone, these Imperial Warriors, one little volley from those Imperial Warriors would take out the drone, but it's just they're too focused on taking out the conscripts. They are indeed. This Mecha Tengu, though, Mecha Tengu coming out, that's going to prove it all, but that wall deployment not fast enough. These conscripts, though, they have to put themselves in the line of fire. Heroic conscript on the field, and another elite conscript taken to the scene. What? We saw some allied cheese in semifinal B, I believe it was. I believe it was semifinal B where Goldie played, which I guess that's a little bit of a spoiler alert if you haven't seen that. But if you haven't seen semifinals, what are you doing in the finals? Go check out the semifinals if you haven't already. But we've seen some allied cheese. Now we're seeing some Soviet cheese being treated by Dimon, just blitzkrieging his way across the map. I mean, forget the Germans, the Russians were the masters of the blitzkrieg here. Conscripts, Molotov cocktails, you cannot underestimate them. I must admit, for quite some time, I really did not think conscripts were all that powerful or all that good. That changed very quickly as soon as I discovered what PC Red Alert 3 was. Back on console, they didn't really mean too much, but here on PC, they can make or break a game extremely quickly. Sickles aggressively jumping in, kind of to their detriment though, because once that honorable discharge goes off, that's rip. I mean, that's rip the sickles around. This attack is going to be held. But Duelon, he throws it in. Das.Duelon thinks he took too much damage in that attack, which, looking at the map, yeah, no, looking at the mini-map in the upper right-hand corner, we could see that Dimon did have a third ref up. He took the high ground refinery expansion towards the center of the map. So even though it looks like Das.Duelon was ahead eco-wise, which I mean he was, had that game kept going, that third ref from Dimon would have picked back up, and it would have enabled him to tip over Duelon's eco. This graph by itself could prove to be a bit misleading. I mean, with the game only being just over 5 minutes, that's not exactly too much time for resources to be gathered, but that was very decisive on the part of Dimon. Extremely good usage of the conscript, and in tandem with the sickles, they're kind of like if you don't have the hammer tanks, right? Hammer tanks are a good kind of buffer unit for a vehicle-based army, but sickles are a good buffer unit for an infantry-based army. And then Like the sickles were the buff, or were the buff units. Terror drone support, and then conscripts were the meat, the main bulk of the army. And since those conscripts were able to take down, they forced out the Defender VX, which frankly the Defender Corps was way too far forward. I think Das.Duelon would have been better off had he put that Defender Corps a little bit further back, not quite so much in the line of fire. That way it could kind of dually cover those two approaches, and it would be in a better tactical position, because that Defender Corps where it wound up serving no purpose whatsoever. I mean, Dimon saw it and he's like, oh, you're gonna put down Defender Corps? Okay, I'll just go around, and just backed up the ramp and just went around, and there was nothing really that Das.Duelon could do to get around that. So very unfortunate. So that will take Dimon to a 3-0 lead going into match point. Can Das.Duelon bring this back? We'll have to find out as we jump into game number 4. Spawning on the map, Infinity Isle. On the right side is the Cyan Soviets. On match point, this is Dimon. Currently playing his heart out, and his opponent, as the Orange Empire, needs a miracle. This is Das.Duelon. Now with Das.Duelon, before, we have seen him in other matches. If he's up against the walls like this, he just pulls out some sort of YOLO strat just for the sake of doing it. If he's ever in a kind of, he's down 0-3, he's got a really big mountain in front of him to try and climb. Ever in this situation, typically we see just some sort of YOLO strat, which one game it was Rocket Angels, one game it was a Eureka Omega. So we'll have to see. I don't know, maybe we'll see an Uprising style turret base push. I wouldn't put it past him. It would not shock me if we saw some sort of weird, wonky strat like that. I would personally love to see it. But time will tell. Snatching, getting his oil derrick just fine. All golden getting good. Oil derricks for both players being claimed. Garrisonable structure being destroyed. Good call. Taking out that garrisonable structure and, in effect, taking that structure for himself. So no need to blow that one up quite yet. War Factory instead of an airfield. Dimon switching up the strats yet again. He's going to go for a vehicle-focused play, but it will be spotted pretty outright. Thanks to that burst drone flying around the maze. Going to be spotted. Super reactor already going down. But he's caught. Yeah, here he comes. Turrets. He's bringing a Defender Corps. Is he bringing? He's bringing another Defender Corps. Send more defenders. Send more Defender Corps. As a caster, ideally casters want to remain unbiased, but you can't help but root for this. I mean, come on. How often do you see a freaking Defender Corps, the Defender VX, just run into the enemy base, just like, hi, this is just gonna go deploy, start zoning out everything. I mean, yes, Hammer Tank is here, but with these tank busters here, they just got turned and engaged. How is that thing being repaired? Did they add auto repairs added to a Hammer Tank now? I'm actually a little confused by that. Maybe it's a proximity to the MCV. I don't know actually. I do not know quite how to answer that. If somebody wants to leave a comment down below and let me know, do these Hammer Tanks, what's causing the Hammer Tanks repair to be sporadic like this? I can't think of a cause. If somebody else can, please, oh please let me know, so I can correct the record. But this attack, it was a hilarious, Frank, it was a funny idea, but I don't think this is gonna work. I do not see this working. Double crit. No, it's grinder treads. That's it, isn't it? It's grinder treads. The upgrade where once a Soviet vehicle crushes an enemy unit, then it gets some repairs based off of the treads, because somehow the treads like grind up the bodily fluids and the mass of the infantry that they're crushing, and they translate that to armor repair, I guess. I don't know. Somehow that happens. Some way, somehow that happens. Not entirely sure how. But that's probably game. I mean, if I had to take a guess, that's a lot of money that was just spent on Das.Duelon's Das.Duelon's effort to move in, be really aggressive with this push. But it's just a matter. I mean, yes, he lost his War Factory is down, but Dimon, I think he's sitting in a pretty solid spot. He just needs to stabilize. He needs to stabilize this. Which, so far, I mean, just, get your War Factory back up, get some unit production capabilities online, go for your third ref, start take control of the game, take control of the situation. Chopper VX coming out, which that's actually not that bad of an idea. There's no anti-air anywhere. There will likely be a Bullfrog queued as soon as this thing is seen, which that would be now. Here comes the Bullfrog. Chopper VX, I don't think he does not quite have enough time to take out the MCV. Two, maybe 3, sure, but with one Bullfrog already out, I do not see these Chopper VXs being successful here whatsoever. Infant conscripts going out, getting an eye on their Imperial enemies. That's a heroic conscript running for that garrisonable structure, which honestly he might last longer. he might fare better out there on the ground. As the suicide charge the bonsai charge rather from the Imperial Warriors will just insta kill him right out of the structure. Boop, there they go. And there was an MCV cell. Oh, no, there wasn't. No, there wasn't. I am just simply hard of seeing, which in my defense I am very nearsighted and will probably turn into astigmatism later. But that's a whole other spiel. Tank busters just they're poking the Soviet bear, no pun intended, since there are 2 bears like right there. Poking the Russian bear, just trying to see what they can get done, if anything. Which so far that is a whole lot of diddly, squat that they're going to be able to get done here. Moving on in with one hammer tank, these Molotov cocktails. They're actually surprisingly good at digging out of their foxhole. So in case you don't know, if you're trying to dig out some of these tank busters out of their spider holes, use Molotov cocktails. Bullfrog goes down, trades a Chopper VX for it. So yes, there's a Chopper VX in the base. Yes, there's a hammer tank in the base down here. But what exactly is being accomplished? I mean, no damage is really going to be done over here. I don't expect too much. Well, no, leave it to Dimon. He gets damage. Yes, he gets damage, destroys the collector. He needs to be careful though about these tank busters that are trying to pursue. And that is a naval yard. That's a naval yard and another refinery. 4th ref going down. If that's not the nail in the coffin, I don't know what is, honestly. If that is not the nail in the coffin, I do not know what is. Already back online, mining over here. Already rapidly redeploying this wall segment over here just to try and minimize the time that damage can be dealt. This collector, but gets in there instantly and stops the rebuild. That's why a lot of players will try to do this. They'll they'll just continually rebuild this one wall segment as soon as it gets destroyed, just so you can stall an enemy from doing just that and going after your collectors. Bullfrog does go down. Chopper VXs will survive that, actually. So Das.Duelon, you gotta hand it to him. He's fighting. He is a fighter, and he is fighting for that W. He wants it. He wants it very much. Very badly, he wants it. Sputnik. Is that a Sputnik? How many times do you see a Sputnik used in Red Alert 3 multiplayer? That answer is very few. Very rarely. It is several standard deviations away from the mean of normality. Which, that's just a statistician's way of saying very rarely. Bullfrog's gonna be ripping these Chopper VXs out of the sky if they try anything too cheeky. Flat cannon though, already he knew. It's almost like Dimon knew what was coming and realizing the position he's in. He sees that 4th ref. I think as soon as Das.Duelon saw the 4th ref already online for Dimon, he just kind of realized, yeah, okay, that's it. So he does wind up taking the L, takes the loss, and Dimon has been crowned the victory and the championship status for the win number 45. Congratulations and shout out to him. Very well played during his games this series. Did pull ahead in that eco. 4th ref makes a lot of the difference, and just continued harassment also makes a cumulatively significant difference. Das.Duelon, I think he was still kind of in the anti-cheese mode, but then again, Dimon is just, he's a very hard player to fight. He's just that good. He's been playing for such a long time, and he's just naturally that good. So, tip of the hat to him. Tip of the hat to Das.Duelon for making it to the grand finals for the 145. Well played on his part in the matches leading up to this game. And it's not that Das.Duelon played badly in the finals, it's just Dimon played, I think, better. Both players played exceptionally well, but Dimon was he had that edge just enough to tip the scales in his favor for this series. So thank you guys so much for watching. I do hope you have enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. And this is Sniper signing out.